Hello, and welcome back to another video with Amualani. This is possibly the only episode, or the first episode, in this new series. This world, if you look at the top left, it says Respectplanks. This is the world that I started a couple of weeks ago, that I had mentioned in my Dwarf Fortress Let's Play series. This is the best world I've ever had. Everything went so right in this world. It's the best start I've ever had. I am fully set up, finally, with all the crafts. All of my dwarves have a bedroom. And I've never been fully set up before. This is a world that I started to refamiliarize myself with starting over, to prepare for a new Dwarf Fortress Let's Play season. And one thing did go horribly wrong, and I'll explain in a second. But this has just been the absolute best world that I've ever had. As you can see, in the start, I did do the very same setup that I did in my Let's Play Season 1. This was my temporary setup. This is where I had all of my temporary stockpiles. I did have one change. I did add a couple of extra rooms here. I needed a little bit of extra space. And then here on the right, one thing I did not like in my Let's Play Season 1 was getting bogged down in the bedrooms. So I made some smaller bedrooms. These are all 3x3 that just have a bedroom and a door. And I did my starting offices I had in the same room as their bedrooms for my nobles. All of that has since moved, and they're now just bedrooms. But the bedrooms allowed me to take my time, and I didn't have to focus quite so hard on bedrooms. Another change that I made was the various social stuff, so that I didn't have to do the social floor quite so early, and I could focus a little bit more on getting my crafts set up. I did a dormitory. So if I had more migrants come in than I had bedrooms for, they still had a place to sleep. This is the first world I have ever done a tavern in. And this experience went so well, I did actually, on my social floor in this world, I do have another larger tavern. I did a starter hospital here, and then a starter library as well. So their social needs were kind of met as I got started. I'm going to go down an elevation here. This is my social floor. We have, this is the larger library. In terms of library success, I have been working on the library in several worlds, and this was the very first world where I've actually had a dwarf write a book. And I've actually had 5 books written now. Here we have this is a much larger hospital. Here, my dwarves are currently filling this up with water buckets. This will be my first actual well that I set up in any world. Here we have these are what the noble bedrooms, like the kind of the permanent setup looks like. Furniture-wise, this is not their permanent setup. I'm working on the furniture currently, so it's not the permanent setup on the noble's furniture. Actually, this one here is getting pretty close on the noble furniture. And we do have little individual stockpiles set up for their dining rooms. We've got cats in the dining rooms to catch the vermin. So these are all the nobles' bedrooms. I don't think I got to the nobles' bedrooms in my season 1. I went with sort of a new shape for me. These are my temples. 2 of them are dedicated, and one of them is just a general temple. This one that this group of dwarves is currently in is the general temple. Up here will be some future wells, and then this one, it will be nothing. I was setting up for a well and then did some research and found out that location was not going to work. And then we do have the bigger dining room and this was the bigger tavern that I just recently finished setting up. The dwarves are just barely kind of starting to use it. Here is my kitchen setup. Now, the kitchen, yes, it's a big block. I like this kind of space so I can do this type of stockpile management in my kitchen. And I also wanted to have... This was a world where I really got into, on the workshops, clicking or assigning dwarves to the workshops. I did that early on, and I really kind of stuck with it. So I have a lot of like extra workshops, and that is purely for dwarf management. You don't have to do any of that, but like this was just something that I really kind of got into and enjoyed in this world. And these are all color coded for what they're for, and they're actually linked to stockpiles. Like my slurry cairn will grab from the empty barrel and the plant fiber plants. This is to make slurry for paper. And I have a stockpile set up for this stockpile is both plant fiber and paper. It's the same plants for both. And we have one for flour, we have one for dye. So we just have a lot of different stuff in here. If you would like to see an episode where I kind of go into what I did stockpile management wise, like specifically for the kitchen, let me know. I won't fully get into it here. But I did finally, this is the first world where I fully got into every single labor in the farming industry. The ones that I was unfamiliar with, I researched, I looked up, I got dwarfs assigned, I got workshops set up, I got stockpiles assigned if I needed to. Like these jugs here. This is also the first world where I've gotten a successful bee industry where they've actually collected product. So I have honey, and I can make all the stuff that comes out of that industry. This is the first world I've done that. These are my guild halls. This bigger one is the general farming guild hall. There's so many skills in the farming guild hall. That's why I made it sort of bigger and fancier. I wanted a planters guild in this world. So this smaller one is for the planters guild. And I did successfully get a planters guild. And then we did sort of the same general setup where I've got the dining room with the bedrooms for this floor. I have a rather large farming industry in this world. And I think the guild hall, I think it's a grand guild hall. I had to go in, and this guild hall originally was not all engraved. It was just smooth. I had to come in, remove all the furniture, get it engraved, put all the workshops and furniture back, because they asked for like a higher value guild hall. I forget what exactly it was. That's the first time that's ever happened to me. So it's the first time where a guild hall they needed more value in their guild hall. My wood floor, as you can see, very similar setup to what I did in my Let's Play Season 1. This is just sort of the permanent setup with the stockpiles. This room down here was set up to deal with display cases. And then this area over here on the right was set up to deal with beds. These are the different value beds. And I did... this is a brand new stockpile that I just got dug out. And I'm actually going to be separating the woods into ones that I really like, and then ones that colors I don't like as much, that I can burn for charcoal. I'm not going to show off we have that dining room bedroom set up on every single floor. That was set up so I could get started on burrows for defense, which has actually come into play in this world. I went sort of a different approach on my stone stockpiles. And honestly, I like this approach much better. It takes a lot more space, a lot more management, but I like to be able to just look at it and visually kind of see, okay, I've got a lot of those. I can make more of those rock blocks to build out of. This one, my box or cinnabar, I don't have a ton of, so I'm not going to do a lot more rock blocks out of that. I'm going to save that sort of, for stuff. I like to be able to visually look at it. And bauxite, we kind of had a ton of, but we've used a ton of it too. But I can see I'm running low on bauxite, and now I need to switch to other materials for that project I was working on with the bauxite. Rock salt was one of the ones early that we just had a ton of, and the other one was shale. We actually still have a ton of shale, but just haven't managed to move any more of it yet. We've been doing a big rock block project, and I will show you that in a second. But that's why it kind of ran out of shale. And then this was a recent move where I do have enough jet and microline, and I've been getting enough jet and microline that I made bigger stockpiles for these. And they're still kind of moving some of the, like this was the old microline pile. They're moving it. But so this is the kind of management that I really like to do, and I've liked this a lot better. I have played with worlds with the stockpile setup for the stone that I did in my Let's Play Season 1. And I enjoyed aspects of that too. But in this world, I really wanted to do a little something different with the stone, and I have absolutely loved what I've set up here. Up here we have, these are the various workshops for sort of like the legendary skilled dwarves. I do have a couple of, like this one is for my mayor. Sometimes my mayor gets an unmet need where they need to craft an object, and so I'll come in here, and that's actually what's happening here with the work order. That's to satisfy the mayor's need to craft an object. It's also satisfying. I need some more slabs of that type, and the mayor's not high skilled, and I want lower quality slabs. This was sort of furniture stockpiles. And if you'd like to see an episode on what I do with stockpile management, let me know. All right. And then this was a big floor. This is my metal working floor. My very first set of migrants in this world was 7 of them, and 4 of them were legendary metal smiths of some sort. I think 3 of them were legendary weaponsmiths, and 1 was a legendary armorer. And then they also were high skill in, there was 1 high skill in like a Mark's Dwarf, and one of them, and I'll actually get into that more in a minute, but because of that, I did, or at least I assume it's because of that, a lot of my migrants that came in had high skill, or I had a lot of migrants for the metalworking industry. So this was sort of my first world where I was able to fully kind of set up the metalworking industry and sort of start testing and see what I wanted to do for stockpile management. Over here in the bars, I did, like this top layer is all the bars that are not alloys, and I did the value. In this one, this was a lot of different bars that we didn't have like a whole lot of in this world, which is why they all got lumped into a stockpile. Iron we're currently low on, but that was recently full. We've got silver, we've got gold. This is aluminum, which I haven't found any of, and platinum. And then on the bottom are the alloys, and sort of the same thing where I have in the label the value of what those bars are. That was a big thing that I wanted to get into, and I've been wanting to get into in Worlds, is the value of stuff, and sort of it's like getting into increasing the furniture, decorating it, encrusting it, studding it with metal. Those type of things are things that I'd been wanting to get into, and that's what this setup here is for. You may recognize this looks a little bit similar to what I had in my Season 1 Let's Play world. That was my first, the Let's Play world was my first draft of this concept. And this, I kind of went with a slightly different idea, and I have put this to, I am constantly using this setup. So the idea is, here in this workshop, I have it set to, it will spit the furniture out into this stockpile right here, and then I can come to this one here. I can pull if I wanted to, like I can, I'll X out, say, and come down here and pull from that, and then I can decorate that furniture again. Is kind of the concept. So here we were on. Oh, it doesn't matter. Okay. And so on and so forth. And so I had it set up so I could decorate that same piece of furniture like with 4 different gems if I wanted to. These are all jewelry workshops. And then we have 2 rows for of the metalsmith's forge, so I can stud with iron. And then these are linked to, if you'll notice, they're linked to horns and hooves. This is so that I can decorate with horn. This is the first world where I really got into decorating furniture with horn. And then here we have, this is all of our jewelry setup. We have the same setup that I did in my Dwarf Fortress Let's Play world of where the value and all the gems that are in that times 30 value are in that stockpile. And then I've got a rough gem and a cut gem stockpile. Now, the one difference in this world is I allowed bins in my cut gem stockpiles. That was because I discovered in my Let's Play season, and a couple of you commented on it, that while you do have to send the entire bin to the trader, once it's at the trader, you can select just 1 or 2 items from the bin if you want to. And so I did go with bins in my cut gem stockpile here. But so this was something that I've been wanting to do in several worlds, and I've got this set up, and I've been actually putting it to use and practicing it, and really kind of getting to know what it's like to decorate the furniture. I've been watching the value go up on the furniture. Like, this is just an area of the game that I really wanted to get into and learn more about, and I have in this world. So this was kind of a huge floor for me, a lot of firsts. And then I do have, this is the jewel crafting and metalsmithing guild. Funny story, this jewel crafting guild was originally my metalsmithing guild, and it was my first guild. And when I made it, I liked the design, and so I continued making that design for the other guilds, but I didn't get the size right. This is the only one, as it turns out, that is this smaller size. The rest of them look like this bigger one. But I didn't realize that until I came to make the second guild on this floor, and they're side by side. You could see they're different sizes, and that was like oops, my bad. It's not a big deal. It was something that I kind of laughed at. Okay, now we're gonna come down. This bigger, you may recognize this bigger design from the Farmer Guild. This is the Crafting Guild. Same thing, it's a bunch of different crafts or skills that are in that crafting guild hall, and I wanted to have a workshop of kind of like several different workshops, like 1 for each. And then we have the kaolinite, we have the various clays, and then this one is the fire clay. And then this is that shape of boulder. It's 3 or 4. Let's go in and look at the stockpile. I forget how many it is. Stone, the economic stone. So it is 4 of them that are that shape. Those 4 stones are for gypsum powder. Plaster powder. Sorry. And the gypsum plaster is for the hospitals. They will use it, and I did. I actually wound up making just an extra, just a ton of it, which is okay. And so I had the excess flow in here, which I could actually probably make that. I will make that stockpile bigger. There's no reason it can't be. It can fill up this whole room. This is a stockpile that I do have shut off. So this workstation is linked to it, spit out into that plaster powder stockpile, and it is the only place that a stockpile will accept is from that workshop. So maybe now that we made it bigger, maybe they can pull all of that out. And okay, barrels are still shut off. Nice. And then This is the very first world, like I said, that I've had a successful bee industry, and so I set up an area for my wax crafts. And they're starting to craft from it. I do have a worker assigned who has some skill in the wax crafting. He is currently in my military. My military is busy doing something, so he hasn't been crafting for a while. But when he gets a break, he can come back and do some more crafting. And then again, we have the bedroom dining hall setup. And this is not all of the crafts. This was because there's so much in the crafting industries. I had to set up 2 floors for it. This is also the very first world where I've kind of gotten into the clay crafting and glazing. This is very, very first time I've ever glazed. I didn't know when you make the clay bricks, like what they turned into, the porcelain bricks is what comes out of the kaolinite. Like all of this was just brand new to me. And the stoneware, like, why is it green when that's the color of the fire clay? Like it was all very fun. It was all very new. Something I'd been wanting to do, but I don't always have a clay industry in my worlds, or where I can go and collect clay. So I haven't really been able to. I've never just gotten that far where I can set up and dig into it and play with it and learn about the industry. I've been able to do that in this world, and it was a first, and it was lovely. Oops, we went down too far. Okay, and then this is the second craft floor. Up here we have the big room. I wasn't sure. This is my clothing area, and I wasn't sure what all I was going to need for the stockpiles with all the new dyes that were added in that update. This was the first world where I was able to play with that, really. And I went a little bit more simple. And here on the left we have undyed, and here on the right we have dyed. I did not get into, like, if I select a specific color on the stockpile, will both undyed and dyed go into that stockpile? If you haven't selected to, like, I haven't gotten into that side of the stockpile management yet, and I don't think I will in this world. I might test it to just find out to see how it works, but I don't really want to make any new stockpiles. Once I do figure out how it works, I don't want to make new ones in this world necessarily. That might be something I do in a future world. We'll see. Here we have, like, the empty bags, and down here we have all the dyeing. So, like, in this world, we got into the dyeing as well, which was a brand new industry for me. The clothing, in researching some stuff on the clothing, I had made clothing before, but I didn't realize that the clothing will wear out after, like, 2 years of the dwarf having it, or, like, wearing it. I have, in all my early worlds, the clothing, like, rotted off because I just... of my dwarves, because I just ignored the clothing industry until I was 6 or 7 years in. And so I kind of learned early on, I can't ignore the clothing industry early, but I didn't know why. And so in researching, I found out why, and it kind of, it told me this neat trick where these stockpiles are, I have all of these workshops are linked up to all of these stockpiles. And I have them shut off so they can only accept from those workshops. So everything that is in these bins here is new clothing. And the dwarves can come and get the new clothing as they need it. And I wanted to have this set up so that I could see what I needed to make clothing-wise. But the tip I saw was to do it this way, where you shut it off so that you've got new clothing here. And then here on the all stockpile floor, I have stockpile that is turned on where they can put clothing in it, and they're putting all of their worn clothing here. And if you'll see on the outside of the symbol, so they have the X. Some of them will have, like, a big X, and some will have, like, a double X. And but, like, if it has an X, they've been putting it in here, and I can sell this bin. And if you look at the value, that's actually a lot of value. The reason it said to do this was if you try to deal with this worn clothing, like if you try to, like, trash it, I guess that will upset the original creator of the clothing. And all of this clothing is being crafted in my kingdom. And it said, but if you sell it to the vendor, you get value, and it doesn't upset the original dwarf that made it. And so I thought that was really cool. And it's something that I thought I would test, and it is working out like that. And it's a really neat feature, and I'm loving that I can come here and see. I have work orders, standing work orders set up where they're making the clothing daily, and I'm also coming in as I have like excess cloth or leather and making extra clothing to kind of see if we ever catch up, can we sell new clothing, that type of thing. And so far, I haven't caught up. My dwarves are my population is 207, as you can see, and I'm not keeping up with the new clothing demand for my dwarves yet. But this is so all of this is just kind of brand new for me, which is why I wanted the big room, just because I didn't know stockpile wise what I was going to need. And as it turns out, this space was barely adequate for what I wanted to do. Honestly, in future worlds, I'm going to go with a bigger space for my clothing industry. This just was not quite enough space, because I really do want quite a larger stockpile for bags. I'm actually having a problem where I have too many bags. That's a first. I've never had the problem where I have too many bags. It's always been I don't have enough bags. These are all the stockpiles for, like, we have the horns and hooves here, we have the skulls, we have the bones, and here on the left, this empty one is for shells. It's only empty because it was recently full, and I set my this is for the shells and bone crafting, and I set my shell crafter to come and craft all the. You can see the trade pins. I have all the, I mean, just a ton of the crafts that they just did from all of the shells. So I actually do have kind of a lively fishing industry and shell industry here. Bones, you can see I still have kind of plenty of. When it gets this full, I'll set it up to do like 10 bone crafts or 10 bone bolts to use a few of the bones. I'm not really willing to go much less than this on the bones. In this particular world, my dwarves went nuts on the artifacts, and they want bones for every single one of them. So I'm needing to make sure that I have that stocked. And then the skulls, you can craft totems out of. All of that is done here in this little square. In the square next to it, we have like the dolomite is a flux stone, and it's a higher value stone than the regular like economic boulder. You can actually see I just have it everywhere. This shape is the flux stone, and that's what I've got set up here is the stockpiles for those crafts, and then these jewelers here are to encrust specifically those crafts to give them higher value for the trader, or potentially give it higher value for my dwarves to come and grab them if they like the craft. And then here in this square, I'm going to click on one of the bins here. When you're doing gem cutting, you have a chance at getting the large gems, or like a gem craft, like a gem earring. Like here, well, I didn't have any of the gem ones, but same thing with the glass. When you cut the raw glass into gems, you have a chance at getting the crafts, the earrings, the rings, the scepters, that all of that stuff. So I've got those stockpiles set up here, and same thing, these jewelers here are set up to encrust these. I've got jewelers everywhere in this world. I've got it set up to do encrusting on a lot of different things. I wanted to kind of figure that industry out, and I wanted to have a workstation close to the stockpiles they're working with. And then here on the very right, apparently you can do cloth and leather crafts, which I've never done before. This is a kind of a new area for me. I set the area up with some stockpiles and some workstations. I have yet to do anything with that. That is one of the crafting skills that I haven't experienced, but I've got the area set up, and I do plan to experiment with it in this world and sort of figure it out. This area here, this larger area, is for my paper industry. I told you I did have this is my most successful I've ever been in a library. Not only did I get a dwarf to write a book, I've had 5 books written. I've done the library in multiple worlds, and I've set it up so that the dwarves can write the books, but they've just never written one. And that was one thing in this world that just went completely right, was my dwarves that came in, that migrated, and I'll get into that in a sec. But so this is all designated to like, this is a rock bookbinding shop, and I've got it set to spit out into the stockpile. And the stockpile is shut off, so it can't accept from anywhere else. That's due to, there are a couple of things in the stockpile menu, and I'm going to come in and sort of show you. The type on this is tools. Well, there's more than one thing that classifies as a tool, which is why I have the stockpiles set up this way, so that this can specifically be this is just rock scrollers. This is just book bindings, and those are things that you need to make the books and scrolls that they write in or make copies of. And so that's what all of this is for. Now, the one thing, well, okay, there was a issue with the paper that I did figure out, stockpile, and I got it to work. But it was not self-explanatory. So there were still some things that I needed to learn in the paper industry, and I did. And then here, bottom left, we do have the glass industry area set up. Now, I do not have any sand in my area, so I can't set up a sand collection zone. The last couple of traders have had just a ton of sandbags, and I've bought all of it, which is why it looks like I have a ton of sand. I have not been doing much with the glass. I wanted to make sure that I had glass vials if I need them. And I forget what industry it was, but one of the industries that I looked up said it needed glass vials for something. So I want to be able to make sure that I can do glass vials. And then the display cases, I'm making sure, and I'm going to come down to the display cases. And I do have a little tiny sand stockpile on this floor set up so that this glass furnace can grab from it to make the glass for my display cases. I now have a display case in every single guild hall. I have a display case in a few of the dining rooms. I have display cases like in a lot of areas, but I want to make sure that I can have display cases for my dwarves have gone nuts on the artifacts, and if they claim one as a family heirloom, I want to make sure I can put a display case in their room. So I'm still not really willing to do much with the glass industry, just because I don't have a sand collection area. If I get a world where there's a lot of sand, that is one thing that I will sort of get into. That is a crafting industry that I have not gotten that much into. All right, and then we have, this is the last like industry floor. This is for, these are all mechanic workshops. This is for the engineering for making the rock mechanisms. I'm getting into making the rock mechanisms, trying to get some of my dwarfs some skill. One of my mechanics is she was a baroness at the time that I made the floor. She is now a duchess. So that she can, when she has that need for or she wants to craft something, I can come and tell her to craft something. And I'm starting to decorate some of the higher quality mechanisms in preparation for that first well. But I haven't doing things with these rock mechanisms aside from the traction bench is something that I've never really done. I have a limited understanding of it based on past research I've done, and I'm just sort of getting prepped for starting to explore that in this world. That is another craft that I do want to learn. I just haven't had the opportunity to, and this is the only craft that I don't have the general guild hall for yet. I'm going to have to wait I have a lot of kids. I'm going to have to wait for them to grow up and become peasants and assign them to that task to get the guild hall. I am no longer receiving migrants, and I haven't for a while. My population is still growing as they have kids, but I'm not receiving any new migrants, and I haven't since I hit 200 population, which was a new experience for me. That was a first. I didn't know this is how that worked. And then we do have one more floor here set up for the justice system. These are jail cells. This setup is based on research that I did when I was having problems with tantrums. This was a recommendation on how to set up the jail cells. For if a dwarf does go in the jail cell, you can still possibly give them happy thoughts so they don't get more stressed and go completely mad. I haven't had any practical experience using this setup. I set it up in this world because I do have a captain of the guard who is in charge of the justice system, from what I understand, and I've started to use the justice system in this world. That's kind of a new experience for me. I'm not real familiar with it. One more floor that I do want to set up, because I've got 4 dwarves that are kind of staying in this orange face. One thing that I had done for tantrums is set up, and I'm going to set it up on this floor, is set up a really fancy bedroom dining hall combination, assign the dwarf to it, and when they're in it, lock the door and just leave them in there for like a year. They get unhappy being locked away from the other dwarves, but the happy thoughts they get from all of the really fancy like furniture and being in the fancy room and stuff, it allows them to kind of come back and come out of that orange happy face. I have experienced that. I've been successful with it. It takes a long time. But that is something it looks like I do need to set up here. I did recently experience a dwarf throwing a tantrum. He did kill a whole lot of pets, and I ejected him from the kingdom. That's the first time I've ever done that. My justice system had not, like, this is what popped up out of that, but it didn't pop up for like a month after I ejected him from the kingdom, and he was in the middle of throwing a second tantrum when I ejected him. The justice system wasn't dealing with it, and I didn't want him to kill anybody, and he was currently trying to kill a whole bunch of my yaks. So that was my first time dealing with that. A lot of firsts. And we do have 4 more dwarves that are kind of in that orange face. And the last time I was in here, and I haven't hit play since I set it up, but I did set up, all of the workshops that they needed. They all had the unmet need for craft object. They all are also, like, 3 of them have the anger prone trait. Like, let me show you. Okay, that's one who did not have the anger prone trait. He's been outside on patrol for what I've been doing for like 2 years, and he needed a little bit of a rest, so I just removed him from the military to sort of allow him to bounce back. But everybody else here, they have that anger prone trait. And it says he's not easily depressed, but he's anger prone. And every dwarf that I've had a problem with tantrums in the past, they were anger prone. And the one that was in a military that just went nuts and killed like 10 people, injured 20 more dwarves, he was anger prone, and he was a legendary fighter. Which is why if I see that anger prone trait, I don't care if they have an unmet need to fight. I'm not putting him in my military based on that experience. I don't want them killing 30 of my dwarves just because they get unhappy. So that's something I'm trying to learn to see if I can deal with that anger prone trait without putting them in the military. I am really nervous though. This world, no, I'll talk about that in a sec. And then we do have, this is our tombs floor. We have had a few deaths. These are the tombs for my nobles, and they're not all furnished. I'm doing something specific with the nobles furniture in this world, and I need specific materials for these ones that are unfurnished that I don't have yet. And as I'm getting those materials, I am slowly, that's the first thing I'm doing, is making the coffin for them. So if they do pass there's at least someplace. I had a couple more nobles, so I'm working on getting those smoothed and engraved. And then these are for all the pets. And then these are for the stuff that the dwarves like kind of want me to engrave stuff for, but like they won't bury them. And I have different, and yes, this is color coded specifically. I won't really get into that, but so this is sort of for all of that for the slabs, and then this is a general temple on the floor. This world we did get into the caverns, but we had to go hunting for the caverns. This was the bottom of that initial staircase, same staircase that I dug in my Season 1 of the Dwarf Fortress Let's Play. Once I got fully set up, with everything that I just showed you, I came down here and we went on a little hunting path. And I dug a new staircase. That one went 50 down. I didn't find the caverns. I came down here and went down 100 on this one. Did not find the caverns. And so then we came up here and went down as far as it would let me. And I did finally hit the caverns. And lesson learned, set up my burrows before I do this kind of hunting for the caverns again. Have the burrow set. My dwarves went nuts with going into the caverns, and there were so many mobs right here that just came up the staircase, and I did have a few of my dogs died. And I got my military station down here, and so luckily I didn't have any dwarf casualties, but it was close. And I had to set up burrows so that only my military was coming down here to build the walls and get it walled off. I just need to set the burrows up before coming down here. But so this will be my first time really. I do have plans for what I'm going to do with the caverns. I've unlocked the caverns before, but I've only ever walled them off. I wanted the benefit, up in my fort without having to deal with the caverns. This is the first world where I'm set up where I feel like this is an area of the game that I can now maybe learn in this world, and I have plans to do that. Okay, couple more floors here. We do have, this is our animal floor. Kind of a similar setup to the Let's Play series, with a couple of extras, and I won't really get too much into what I did with the industries here, but we got the bedrooms, we have the guild hall. I did set up, this is the vermin industry. This is the first world where I've really done anything with it, so again, another industry that I'm starting to learn, and successfully, I think. And then we have this is our barracks floor. Here we have the stockpiles for all the armor and weapons. And yes, I'm going to continue to do stockpiles like that. I like this kind of stockpile management for it so that I can come in and sort of visually see what I need. And then I set up, so one row of bedrooms is, we have the militia leader has the fancy bedroom with the office and the dining room setup, and then the other 9 are for the other 9 in the squad. Now, in this case, a lot of my militia folks, my squads are full, but a lot of them militia folks are married, and so that's why not all the bedrooms are furnished. And then we have all the barracks for them to come and train. And as you can see, I do have some named weapons and armor, and I've had it happen in one other world once. This is the first world where it's happened on multiple, and it's right now it's actually happening quite fast. I've had 4 this year. They are doing a lot. So yeah, I do have I have a lot of squads, and there's a reason for that. And now we're going to go up and we're going to show you the entrance. I have this block is dolomite. I have so much of it. I did accidentally make a few rock blocks from it, and I was like, you know what, we'll do the entrance out of it. And I'm enjoying that entrance. But we did set up a road, and we've had to set up some walls. The reason being is this world is heavily forested, and I made some whoopsies with the elves early on. The very first time it was year 101, that first spring I got the Elven Trader. I was excited by it, and I was busy doing other things after I finished trading, and I didn't notice on the left that I had the diplomat alert. I wasn't expecting a diplomat alert from the elves, and I got kind of busy doing other things, and the elven diplomat left angry. I assumed it had to do with the amount of trees I was cutting down, and they wanted to negotiate the number of trees that I could cut. I assume that's what that was. And then the next year, the elves came and I did my trading, and sure enough, the diplomat came back, and that's exactly what it was. Now, in every other world where I've had that diplomat pop up and they only want me to cut down 25 trees, I've hit no, and they'll negotiate, and the number will go higher. That's been my experience in every other world. Well, I hit no here, kind of forgetting that the diplomat left angry the first time, and they didn't negotiate. They just left. They stormed off and called me. I forget what they called me, but it was like a nature hater or something like that. And I've been dealing with elf invasions ever since. Now, the very first elf invasion, I thought that was going to be the end of this world because they came with 30 elves, and I only had at the time 16 in my military. Now, my military was well trained, and because my very first set of migrants was a legendary group of metalsmiths, I did get my army completely decked out in steel and high quality steel armor and weapons early. And it turns out, 16 well trained, well equipped dwarves. The elf invasion, I only lost one dwarf, and it was not in my military. I had a fishery worker that was outside, and I don't know why they were outside because I didn't have any fishing going on. But I did have a fishery worker die in that invasion, and that was it. Now, they did kill a lot of my dogs, and so I kind of learned, well, okay, they go after pets, apparently. And in the second invasion, it was about 36 mobs, but half of them, I think, were mounted on horses, and it was counting the horses in that count, so I don't know exactly how many elves it was. But because they were mounted, they got to my entrance a lot quicker, and initially I had built this pen to enclose my pets to keep them safe, and I initially had the access to it right here, kind of outside. And in that second elf invasion, they came in and they killed several pets. That's how far they got before my army got up here. So I set to work on this staircase is from inside my fortress, and I walled this off. I haven't had a third elf invasion, so I don't know if these measures have worked. But I do have that's what all of my box site has gone to is I've been setting up walls. This is over this entrance here where these dwarves are patrolling. I've got a dining hall that I set up, and I just this is the first time I've ever set this for this is the carve a gap in a smooth wall to allow your archers to fire upon invaders. I'm gonna set up a patrol zone here I do have archers. And so this will be my first time sort of experimenting with that. I've done research on it, and I think I have a decent understanding of what I need to do, but I've just never experienced it. So I don't know if my measures are enough. And then I just set up the wall all the way around. This is my gathering area for the trees, so that my herbalists that come outside, if they're outside in an invasion, they have a little bit of protection with the walls, and they have time. I do have burrow command setups where I can send them inside quickly, and they've got time, hopefully, to get to safety before the elves get here. I will now be having permanently one of my squads stationed at the front here. That's something I don't have. These are not all full on the squads. That's something I need to go in and start training a few more dwarves. I do have, I think, 35 trained. But I want to be able to rotate which squad gets posted here. That is, sort of for the future. So overall, this world I have 95 dwarves that have a legendary skill, at least one. And 15 to 20 of them migrated that way. A lot of the rest of them, it's legendary in the fighting skills or like legendary mining, cooking, brewing, things that I did here. I have a lot of those skills. I do have every single general guild hall with the exception of the engineer guild hall. I recently got the doctor's guild hall. That was the last one that I got. And then I wanted a miners guild and I wanted a planters guild, so I got those as well. Now I do have in my labor menu that was set up this kind of the same as in my Let's Play world with one addition. The custom detail is, I think I can delete that, but the beekeeping. Beekeeping in the research that I had done on the industry, and I tried to set up beekeeping a couple of times, um, the citizens getting stung by bees, it can be a problem from what I read and understood. So I did not, and I had a huge amount of farmers. If you come up and look at my farming, I mean, I just so many farmers. Um, and I did not want everyone in the farming industry going and doing the beekeeping and getting stung, which is why I set it up as a separate labor because to try to sort of protect my dwarves. And we may wind up getting a beekeeping guild as well. We'll see. That's a new industry for me. I'm enjoying what I'm learning from it. And so the rest of my dwarves are out here by my water source is right here by this river. That well that I showed you, where I'm having them fill it up with buckets, this is where they're coming for the water. And this is also right up here is where the elves were invading from, and which is why I've had all of my squads out here patrolling. And I've really gotten into the animal training in this world, and as you can see, I've got some hunting dogs, I've got some war dogs, and I've got them assigned. They're not only trained, but they're assigned to my military, and that's why they're out here. And that one dwarf that I showed you that was in the orange face, he was part of this military squad that's been out here forever. It's taken him, I think, a year and a half to get as far as they have. They're almost done, and then I'm going to let these squads come back in. I'm going to take them off of training and just like completely give them a break for a couple of months. They've been out in the sun. Like you can see all the vomit and stuff. They're not real happy being out here. But that was a task that I really wanted to get done, and it'll be my first well. And with the invasions, I don't know if I'm going to need an inside drinking source or not, which is why I was wanting to set it up. So just lots and lots of firsts. And the anger-prone dwarves, one concern there is, I don't know if you noticed, but I do have the capital. My population exploded fast in this world. Not only did my first set of migrants have 4 legendary dwarves, and I don't know if that attracted more legendary dwarves to come, but I got a lot of migrants that had legendary skills. Because of that, a lot of what I was making was higher quality, and so my value was going up. But not only that, my dwarves went nuts on the artifacts in this world, absolutely nuts. And my value just shot through the roof fast. My artifacts, I have 5 books that have been written so far. I don't know if the named weapons or armor are considered artifacts or not, but I have 5 of those. And then I have 23 artifacts in 10 years. And several of those have a value of 30,000 or more. And I had a couple of those in my first couple of years. So I got I forget what the earliest stage of the duchy is. Countess. I got that in the first couple of years. And pretty much every year when the Dwarven traders came, that went up by at least 1. And I had the duchy, I think, by year 5. I became the mountain home. The queen came here, and this became the capital. That happened in the year 107. I've had that happen once before where I became the mountain home, but it took longer. Everything here, it just happened so fast because of the value. And unfortunately, my queen is one of those orange faces who, I'm going to go click on the queen. She is anger prone and she's hateful. She disdains independence, values sacrifice. She's lustful, disdains cunning. So, like, in general, just what I feel is not a very good dwarf. And she's been making things a little bit difficult for me. The very first time that she imposed a ban on exports, I was quite literally in the middle of trading what she banned. And the dwarf that brought and that was bolts. The dwarf that brought those bolts to the trader got beaten to death as part of the justice system because the queen was the injured party. But I made the trade before I got the alert for the demand. So there was just a bit of a game lag in that aspect of, I think she had made the demand, but I didn't get the alert until after I did the trade. And so whoopsie, lesson learned. But she's one that I've been monitoring. She's been in the orange phase pretty much since she got here, and I've been trying to make her happier. She has a fancy bedroom set up here, and I'm starting to work on her furniture and things. The reason why I have the Noble's room set up this way is I'm going to get her locked in here as a last resort if I can't get her happier. So that she doesn't go on a tantrum and start killing a whole bunch of folks. And I don't want her getting injured either. But the reason why I have the Noble's bedroom set up this way is I did have one of my mayors made an artifact. The artifact got stolen, and that mayor kind of went nuts and started throwing tantrums. That is why I have the bedrooms and stuff set up this way, is so that I can lock that front door and they still have everything they need. So that is something for me to monitor, and hopefully I can get my queen a little bit happier. So this world, I really did just have a ton of firsts. It was first book written in the library, my first tavern, first will I'm working on now. I did, in that first Elven Invasion, have my first necromancer visit. I don't know much about the necromancers, and I kind of followed them and was, reading their thoughts, and I was kind of curious. It's my first time really training animals, and so that's been kind of a neat experience. It's my first time ejecting a dwarf from the kingdom. It's my first time having to really hunt to unlock the caverns. When I've unlocked the caverns, it's always been when I dug that first staircase down 50. It seems to be 50-50 whether I unlock the caverns or not. It's my first time having such a thriving hunting industry. I did set up my first 7 dwarves. One of them was my militia commander, and I did make him a proficient arch dwarf, which, as it turns out, was really good. I do have a population of, let me show you, of Siamangs here, and they've kind of moved into this corner because of all the hunting. But initially they were kind of right where I embarked, and they killed. I had to have the traders bring me dogs twice because the Siamangs just kept killing my dogs. And even when I moved the dogs down, the Siamangs came into the fortress and killed my dogs until I had more than just one hunter. The hunters started going out, and I had them set to hunting, and they were going after the Siamangs early, but I just didn't quite have enough hunters those first couple years. But the third time the traders brought the dogs, by that point I was having no more issues with the Siamangs. The hunters were getting them under control. Right now the population is actually kind of, it looks kind of small right now, but I think a few of them went off the corner of the map there. It was a little bit larger. The reason why it's this large is because most of my hunters are in my squad, and they're part of that squad that's patrolling here, and so they haven't been able to hunt for like a year and a half, and so that'll be hopefully by the time summer comes around, I can bring these guys back in and allow them to go hunting and get that population under control again. This is kind of the first time I've really had hunting. This is the first time I've ever had a tiger or an elephant, and the tiger, as you can see, you can train them as hunting pets, which I didn't know. And this was from the very first elven trade. I got the tiger, and I was hoping to get a second one so I could get a breeding pair. But my elven trades sadly went away quickly in this world. But so the tiger has been quite fun, and in the tavern it was kind of funny those first couple years. I had the tiger, and the person that he was assigned to, I think, was spending a lot of time in that tavern, because every time I looked there was just a tiger in that tavern. that is where he lived for the first couple of years that I had him, and it just kind of made me laugh. And now that I have the other tavern and my dwarves are so busy, they're not spending as much time in the tavern as they were that first couple of years. But it's been interesting. And I do have... since I unlocked the caverns, that was a big thing why I went hunting for them, was the elven invasions. I wanted to be able to bring my grazers underground. The second elven invasion, they did actually kill quite a few of my yaks. And apparently with the elven invasions, that's something they go for, is like your pets and animals. And I do have a couple of alpacas. I did have a pair of breeding sheep, but they killed one of the sheep in the Elven invasion, and I haven't been able to get a second one since. I do have a couple of llamas that came in with my migrants, and so I got a little bit of a llama industry. And I do have an elephant. And the elephants you can train too as like war or hunting elephants. This one I got from the human traders, and I'm hoping to get a second one so I can get a pair. And I don't know how old they live to be. This one's kind of old. I'm hoping to get a younger one if they. Either way, it was cool. I've seen an elephant, and that was a first for me. It was my first time with the clay industry at all. First time with successful beekeeping. First time really decorating furniture, and I'm loving the setup that I have in this world. First time having such high skilled dwarves in the first migrants. I've had one legendary dwarf come, but never four in that first set, and it just snowballed. And yeah, this has just been a really, really cool world that I will continue to do things in. I am fully established. I'm happy with where my game state is at, and there are new things that I want to experience that I feel like I can experience in this world. And I do plan on doing future world tours as there's anything more to show. But if you would like to see anything specific, more like with the dwarves or maybe like the books, talking about the library, like how that went, let me know if you'd like to see a more specific video for this world, Respectplanks, and make sure to say that in the comments, Respectplanks, and what you want to see, if there are specific videos that you'd like to see with this world. Let me know. This is Amualani. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next episode.